Yes. So we had, we were about to conclude. It was a long discussion which has started on the verse number 32nd of Bhagavad Gita, sixth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And in this course of this particular verse, we are discussing there are two categories of sadhakas, two categories of aspirants who are doing spiritual practice. And this, the Bhagavan is trying to mention that the one who kind of has that referent, he himself posits himself as the referent for all his vyavahara in the sansara during Vyuthana Dasa. And by doing that, he maintains kind of a balanced vision and a state of equanimity, and is all the time established in the yogic state of being. And in that context, we had discussed three critical ideas which are kind of interrelated. One is Tattva Jnana, Mononasa, and Vasana Kshaya. And Madhusudan explained at length that one cannot give you right results in a comprehensive manner if you are not attaining to the other two. So Tattva Jnana happens much faster if there is mononasa. Your mind has been kind of tranquil, it's in a state of tranquility. You have pacified it. And this mononasa, or this tranquility of the mind, is much easily achieved if you are able to get rid of your desires. That is vasana kshaya. And when you have tattva jnana, that sort of reinforces your vasana kshaya going forward. So it's a virtuous cycle. One thing leads to another. Or you can put it as three angles of a triangle, and they reinforce each other. They're interrelated. So you have to practice them simultaneously. And he quoted from Vasishta, Tattva Jnana Manonasa Vasana Kshaya Evacha Mitha Karanatam Gatva Dussadhyani Stitanihi Tasmat Raghava Yatnena Paurushena Vivekina Bhogecham Duratas Tyaktva Traim Etat Samashraya. Why did he say this? Because this desire for some sort of an experience of pleasures, material pleasures or psychological pleasures, will trap you. This particular virtuous cycle that you are working on right now, Mononasa, Vasana Tyaga, and Tattva Jnana, this is a virtuous cycle, and you're working on it. Suddenly, it will become a vicious cycle because you would have Dikshita Manas, and there'll be a lot of Vasana Pravalya, a lot of Vasanas, and then you will have Vasana Pravalya, and you will have a lot of Mithya Jnana, not Tattva Jnana. So you will be a Tattvavid, not a Tattvavid. And therefore, try to be intelligent. That is what is the advice. Then, he then brought in two categories of sadhakas to mention that it happens much easier for a person to ascend to what is called Jivana Mukti Avastha. This happens very naturally. It happens in whose case? In case of them who have already worked on Vasana Kshaya and Mononasa. And how have they worked on it? Because they have done a lot of Niskama Karma. They have done a lot of Upasana. They are Kritopasti. Therefore, they have purified their Antakarana. Their Sattva Suddhi has already happened. So now they are focusing on Sravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. Meditation on the truth by listening and studying the text, making sense of it, and removing whatever doubts are there in the mind through logical and argumentative reflection on any particular truth statement, any philosophical statement, which the Parampara, the Shastra provides, like Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi. What is the meaning of this sentence? How do I apply understanding of this in my everyday life? So in this process, he becomes somebody who graduates to a Jivanamukti Avastha in a fashion which is very smooth and easy. In sharp contrast, then, you have people who are not Kritopastis. So he's talking about the category of students he clearly mentions these days. This is the word he used. That these days there are a lot of people, because of outsukya, because of some kind of a curiosity and enthusiasm for Vedanta, they directly come to study, listen, and make sense of Vedanta and make it a part of their lives. But they do not have the skills. It's like a person does a lot of weight training, as I was mentioning, and he does a lot of jogging in the morning, but end of the day, he's playing badminton or cricket. He doesn't have to run a lot. Of course, it will be very useful for him when he's fielding or running between the wickets. Same way, he has done a lot of weight training. So when he, is batting, his bat, appears very light to him. So he can swing the bat without any effort because he's doing a lot of weight training. So even though directly weight training, bodybuilding, or jogging in the morning, athletics, do not directly contribute to your being a great cricketer, but the overall contribution to the muscle and the swiftness and the elegance of the whole biological system that you have when you get into the field to play cricket. If you have the skills, you have to apply cricketing skills, but these training will sort of be supportive. They'll supplement your efforts. They'll give you the foundation on which you can prepare yourself and deliver very good results. Same way, he's saying that a person who has done Nishkama Karma and Upasana, he has kind of prepared his inside, his internal constitution of the mind, which is plain, transparent, and pure, so he can do his Tattva Darsana much faster. However, he says there are people who do not have the benefit of this. They are directly starting Vedanta Chintana. Then what happens? He's saying this. In case of the guy who has done all the sadhanas, the upasanas, and the karmas, ataha saithilya hetu bhavat tattva jnanam tasya anuvartate. In case of a guy who's done this homework, when he starts doing Vedanta Sravana, he is not distracted. He doesn't suffer from any kind of mental turmoil as a result of any temptation that distracts him. He's focused and he doesn't have any restlessness. He is very most focused and is calm and quiet. He gets the results. Tattva Jnanam Anuvartate kind of follows him because he's so well established in the basic training of his system. Manonasana Vasana Kyutu Dridha Vyasa Bhavat Bhoga Pradena Prarabdhena Karmana Badhyamanatvacha Savad Desa Padipavat Sahasa Nivartate. Then he's giving a counter example. In case of people who are not so well trained in these first two categories of sadhana, mononasa and vasana kshaya, because they are not kritopastis, they haven't done the preliminary work to kind of tranquilize, pacify their minds and their habits. They do not have that dridha vyasa bhava, they don't have too much of training in that field. And then bhoga pradena prarabdhena karmana badhyamanatvat. Then the bondage of karma and past prarabdha, whether you have done bad karma or good karma, they both are bondage. Why? You have done a lot of punya. You want to become a sannyasi, go into the forest. But the load of punya will sort of bear its own fruits, and therefore God will kind of force you to get married for a while, and they might get you married to a very good man or a woman, then give you a lot of money. So that will be a distraction. But then, because you have done a lot of punyas, you have to have the punya phalas. So for a sannyasi, this punya phala is not required because he wants something else. Sometimes your punyas can also go against you. And sometimes your papas will always go against you. Manonasana vasana khyautu dridhabhyasa bhavat bhoga pradena prarabdhena karmana badhyamanatvacha savada pradesa padipavat. So there is a lamp which is burning. But this area is not enclosed from outside, and there is a window, and there is a gust of wind suddenly comes in, and what happens? It puts out that particular lamp. That flame gets extinguished, the lamp goes off. Suddenly the air comes. Same way, the prarabdha karma, which is hiding within us, can show up anytime and show its results. Ata idani tanasya Tattvajnanah praksidhe tattvajnane na prayatnapeksha. So these days, the kind of Vedantis who are coming to do Sravana Manana Nididhyasana without the benefit of previous training in Upasana and Niskama Karma, they do not have an opportunity to rely on any earlier investment they have done in spiritual sadhana. They are starting from scratch. Kintu mononasa vasanakyayo prayatna sadhyau iti. In fact, they have to rely doing serious Sravana Manana Nididhyasana so that while studying and understanding the meaning of Vedanta or Bhagavad Gita or Upanishad, whatever, they are also at the same time are so well focused and concentrated that they are able to reduce the distraction or jumping around nature of their mind. They can pacify it, and they at the same time can also do vasana kriya through the jnana because they haven't done the training. So they have to understand, why am I doing it? The Veda says this, Upanishad says this. And having heard Upanishadic talks and reading the text, they'll convince their mind, please don't go that way. That's a false world. And the mind slowly changes. That's what he mentions. Okay. And then he's saying that प्रयत्न साध्यत्व साध्यौ इति तत्र मनोनास असंप्रज्ञात समाधिनि समाधि निरूपणेन निरूपितः प्राक्. So already how to do mononasa, we already know what is mononasa. That is essentially reaching a stage of nirudha samadhi. You have chitta, mudha, vichipta, ekagra and nirudha. When the mind becomes completely choked from all sides and there is chitta vritti completely put to an end, it has asampragyata samadhi with the help of what? Paravairagya. The first four stages, first stage of ekagrata, and there are again four intermediate levels, that is savitarka, nirvitarka, savichara, nirvichara, sananda, sasmita. All these stages of samadhi that you will do it by focusing on something. We have already discussed how to do it. It's recorded, you can listen to it again. And here, what he will do it, that he will do paravairagya. First 4-5 stages that we discuss, intermediate levels of sampragyata samadhi, he has to do abhyasa and vairagya. However, in the next stage, abhyasa is not sufficient. Only vairagya not sufficient. He has to do paravairagya. Not detached from the sansara in order to focus on any particular vastu, any pratika, but not to focus on anything, but get disentangled from any sort of attachments, any linkages, any relationships. That finally will materialize as asampragyata samadhi. Then he's saying, Tatra Vasana Surupam Vasishta Aha. What is this Vasana? That is the doubt which will come. Because Mononasa, he already just mentioned. I have explained to you when we did the 15th verse of chapter 6. There was a long discussion. You can go back and listen to it. That Asampragyata Samadhi is essentially what is Mononasa. You have to dominate the mental functions by reaching that Chitta Vritti Nirodha. That is the Asampragyata Samadhi finally. Tatra Vasana Rupam Vasishta Aha. Vasishta is telling Ram in Yoga Vasishta. Jura Bhavanaya Tyakta Purvapara Vicharanam Yada Danam Padarthasya Vasanasa Prakirtita. What he's saying is very beautiful. He's saying that whenever there is a desire, there are a few symptoms and some symbolic hints as to whether it's vasana or not. Vasana is such a thing when it happens to you, you generally forcefully try to fulfill it. Desire creates its own powerful force. And how that works? That works by blinding your ability to discriminate. You are not thinking about pros and cons. The first what it ensures is that you somehow get blinded and you abandon two things. One is purvapara vicharanam. What was before, what's going to happen next if I do some effort to realize my vasana. If I fulfill this vasana, what's going to happen? So there is an examination, you're undertaking that. And suddenly you have a vasana. I want to go to the market, have a piece of sweet or something. So what is the Purvavastha? You are writing the examination. If you complete it, you will get a good degree and you'll go to some higher degree. And if you run away, you will have the sweets. What else? You will fail the examination. This Purva Para Vicharanam, you have to do Tyaga. Why? Vasana is so powerfully present in you. Dhruda Bhavaneya, in a very forceful way of thinking on it, you get rid of your ability to discriminate. Yad Adanam Padarthasya, what brings in that I want to connect with this particular thing or that, whatever is the object of your pleasure, Vasanasa Prakriti, that itself is called Vasana. Then he will give a long lecture on different types of vasanas. Let's listen to him. Atra cha swaswa desachara kuladharma bhava bheda tadgata apashabda susabdadishu praninam aviniveshah samanyena udaharanam. What he's saying is very beautiful. He's saying, look, I will tell you what is vasana and how forcefully that materializes in us. And he gives the example of, you'll find that people, some person may be very, very highly placed in society. He may be a very big CEO or an army chief, or maybe a big politician or an advocate. But then if you listen to him in private parties or in a conversation for a while, you can figure out from where he comes. It's quite possible that he uses some apasabda, like he might get angry, he might say a couple of words, swear words. Or like somebody says hello, somebody might do namaskar, somebody might say namaste, somebody might say om, somebody might say hello. Depending on where from you come, what is your culture and all, these naturally manifest forcefully. A kind of impulsive response, it emanates from the backside of your mind about which you don't have much to do. Even if you try to appear different, they will materialize. That is, Vasana is like that. What he's saying is, even if you're doing a lot of sadhana and you're trying to control and skillfully steer your mind towards your cherished destination in terms of spiritual sadhana, the Vasana can appear. It will sneak through all obstacles and obstructions that you have set forth to keep Vasana at bay, keep desire at bay. The Vasana can find its way and materialize in your consciousness just out of the blue. Sacha Vasana Diviga Malina Suddhacha. That desire is of two kinds. One is dirty, stained, the other one is pure and white. So what is the pure one? First, let's study that. Suddha Daivi Sampat. It's a divine grace. This particular aspiration. So one is aspiration, the other one is desire or craving. So Vasana is of two kinds, desire is of two kinds. One is aspiration, the other one is craving. So what is aspiration? A good aspiration to study Vedanta and meditate. Where from it comes, he explains. Suddha Daivi Sampat. It's like a bounty bestowed on you by divine. And what is that? Sastra Sanskara Pravalya Tattva Jnana Sadhana Tvena Aikya Rupa Eva. And this particular sort of manifests in you that Viveka Vairagya, that you want to do some sadhana, you want to study Vedanta, and you want to have a thoughtful approach to life with a balanced mind and a compassionate and egalitarian attitude, having a similar disposition to your friends and enemies because you have studied that. That is Daivi Sampat. It's a kind of bounty which you cannot get by earning a lot of money. This is an approach, this is an attitude. It cannot be purchased with money. That is why it's Daivi Sampat. Malina tu Trivida, the dirty one, what is called desire, that Malina is Trivida, three kinds. What are these three kinds of desires? Loka Vasana, Sastra Vasana, Deha Vasana, Cha Iti. So you have Loka Vasana, Sastra Vasana, and Deha Vasana. Desires associated with knowledge. Desires associated with Loka Vasana, getting approbation, approval, praise, following in society, Loka Vasana. And the desire for knowledge, desire for power. Loka Vasana is desire for power. And Shastra Vasana is desire for knowledge. And finally, Deha Vasana is desire for a well-being, desire for well-being. Sarve janaha jatha na nindanti tatheva acharishyami iti asakyartha aviniveso lokavasana. Look at it. He's saying that sometime a person makes it a point that I shall not do something which others shall not like. I want to do something which everybody shall like. That's a big trap. A lot of people do that. Just imagine if you're an actor and an actress, and the director says what kind of roles you are good at or what kind of role you want to do in a film, and that particular actor says, I want to act in a way that people will go mad after me. Do you know he's most vulnerable? The director will say, okay, so you have to play the role of a servant and people will beat you up and you have to act like a joker, and then I'll give you 2 or 3 songs. Okay, are you okay? He says, no, but that's what will give you a lot of fame. I assure you, I'm a famous director. He becomes a victim of it. A lot of people are swindled by these modern day gurus and modern day investor experts, because somebody tells you that I can make you rich in just 5 years, and whatever little savings you have, you hand it over to him. You hand it over to him, what? Your life, because that's all you have for your life. So you got to be careful. So that is lokavasana, that I will like to do something which everybody shall praise. And this is very difficult to achieve, because asakyartha abhinivesho lokavasana. First thing, it's very difficult to fulfill that kind of a demand on yourself, and therefore it is called lokavasana. Tasyacha ko lokam आराधयितुं समर्थ इति न्यायेन सम्पादयितुं शक्यत्वात् पुरुषार्थ अनुपयोगित्वात् च मलिनत्वम्. Why this lokavasana is a dirty desire? Dirty means not so clear, not so pure. Why it's an impure desire? We think first thing, it's purushartha anupayogi. What is the purushartha? Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. This desire for power and popular following. I want to have a fan club on Facebook. Thousands and millions of people will follow my Facebook page. That is not part of dharma, artha, kama, moksha. It's a stupid kind of a desire. So it's malina. The number 2 is that you can never make everybody happy, come whatever may. They have different histories and prarabdhas. They expect different things, and you are not going to provide all that. Okay, so that is malinatvam. Sastra vasana tu trividha. And this Shastra Vasana, the desire associated with knowledge, the desire for knowledge, that again is of 3 kinds. What are they? Patha Vyasanam, he wants to study a particular thing. Patha is what? Here, Ucharana, recitation. Some Vedic students, they are Veda Pathis. And when they sit and recite, the air is filled with beautiful vibration because they're experts. They're Patha Vyasana. They don't understand what they are saying, but they are great reciters. Patha Vyasana. Then what? Sastra, Bahu Sastra Vyasana. And this is done with a lot of intellectuals, professors, even Vedanta students. You want to read a lot. You want to understand what is what. And then Anusthana Vyasanam. There are some people who do a lot of karma anushthanas like yajnas and homas and stuff like that. A lot of pujas, Navratra puja, this puja, that puja. They are very ritualistic and they take a lot of pride in that. It requires a lot of money, and they are ready to do that. So all these they are malinatvam. So these things are also kind of malina. And he's saying there are 3 categories of people who had this sort of desires. Who are they? So iti kramena Bharadvajasya. So Bharadvaja Muni was expert in reciting Vedas. So that is Patha Vyasana. And then Durvasa Saha. So Durvasa, very angry person, but he was into knowledge. He was a Vedanta, he studied a lot, a great scholar. And therefore that is Sastra Vasana, Bahu Sastra Vasana, and Nidagha. Nidagha is Bahu Anusthana Vasana. He used to do a lot of puja. He was another such Brahmin. Malinutvam cha asyaha klesa vahat. And this particular, is it impure? This Sastra Vasana, this is about intellectualism. What's wrong with it? He's saying here, look at it. Bahu klesa vahat. It requires a lot of hard work, whether you want to be an expert in Panini Grammar or Nyaya or Vedanta, or you want to finish like Satachandi, or you want to do lots of big ritual, or you want to be an expert in reciting the Vedas. Any of these will require you 7-8 years to master. do a lot of sadhana. Okay, and they are saying, and not only that, and he says purushartha anupayogitvacha, and then finally darpa hetutvacha, janma hetutvacha. There are many drawbacks of these intellectualism, either ritualistic intellectualism or textual intellectualism, or when you are a vocal Sastragya, you want to recite it, you want to remember it and recite it. Either of these three, Purushartha Anupayogitvat. You need to understand what is Sastra and you have to do Dharma or Jnana. Then you have to do your marriage and Artha and Moksha. So Dharma is fine, but then you need to do Karma. But they are obsessed with any of these, and therefore Purushartha, these whole four stages of life, by being obsessed with it, you are not going to reach it. Like if you become a sannyasi, your chanting is not so important as is your meditation and your Sravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. Okay? And so that is how he's explaining it. So it's, and then Darpa, it creates Darpa Hetutvat. So you have a lot of ego that I know, I have done so many pujas, and then you know what? I'm sort of a great reciter, and I've read a lot of books. I have done a lot of pujas. All these are darpa hetus, causes of false vain glory. And dharma hetutva. So if you do a lot of punyas, what's going to happen to you? God will like to give you birth in a very healthy, happy family. So no moksha. You have to come back here and you have to do studies here because God is giving you a lot of blessings. These blessings can be encashed only during an earthly life, not in the heaven. So you have to willy-nilly come back here and pass through the birth and death cycle. Deha vasanapi trividha. Similarly, the desires associated with physical well-being is also of three types. Atmatva bhrantir, gunadhana bhrantir, dosa apanayana bhrantir iti. So three types of desires associated with physical well-being. One is atmatva bhranti. And he's saying, tatra atmatva bhranti virochanadishu prasiddha. Sarvalokihi. You know what happened to Virochana? Virochana and Indra both had gone to Prajapati and they wanted to know what is Brahman, what is Atma. And then Bhagavan said, Prajapati said, you do so much of research, so much of hard work, you do some seva. And after a few years, when they went back, they took them and they asked them to look into water. And they saw their bodies. And Virochana was very happy and proud because he saw a very handsome body. He was the king of the Rakshasas. And Indra was the king of the Devatas. Incidentally, Rakshasas and the Devatas are born out of the same person and they're all brothers. So these two brothers, in a way, connected genetically. So they went and they got this advice and Virochana was very happy. He said, now I know who am I. He saw his face in the mirror. He was very proud of his good looks. And he said, I have Atmajnana. He went back. But then Indra kind of stopped and he said, oh, really? If this is one, when I'm in deep sleep, I don't even know, I don't even have this body. So where am I? I cannot be this body because in deep sleep, the body doesn't exist in my consciousness. So he goes back to Prajapati. Prajapati says, okay, so you have to stay here for another 32 years and do a lot of seva. Then I'll tell you the next level of secret. And finally, that's how he reaches a level where he has complete Atmajnana in 105 years. Okay. Now, therefore, here, like Virochana, you find a lot of people, you talk to them at parties and all, what do they say? Okay, I'm going to this particular naturopathic center in Kerala. I'm going to do the oil massages and herbal tea and coffee and vegan food. And it's all a very costly package. And I'm going to come back younger. A lot of them go under the knife with plastic surgeons to repair the body contours and stuff like that, to remove the wrinkles and make them look younger. So this is prasiddha. This is loka prasiddha. Everybody knows this kind of a dehavasana. What is the second one? Gunadhana. What is gunadhana? He's saying that gunadhana is of two kinds: laukikam, sastriyam cha. Gunadhana is providing the input of some quality, infusing some quality into something. Like you have a bow and an arrow. So gunadhana is when you stretch that particular bow and then you leave it, then it travels to a certain distance because you empower it by stretching the string, so the tension in the arrow, and it will move forward. That is gunabhana. So infusing something with some qualities, that is gunabhana. Dvividam lokikam sastyam. What is lokikam? Samishina savadadi visaya sampadanam lokikam ganga snana sala grama tirthadi sampadanam sastriyam. So somebody might will say that, okay, speaking very well, doing training yourself to have a very good, yoga classes to remain young, get rid of your fat, and dress up very well, go for herbal massages and stuff like that. These are all laukika. So you're speaking well, for example, improving your ability to speak, socialize, all these. Shastriya is what? Ganga Snana, Salagrama, Tirthadi Sampadana. This is also associated with well-being because you are doing it to keep yourself healthy. So some people will take some herbal drinks and stuff like that, whereas other people will do maybe some japa and Hanuman Chalisa and Chandi Patha to fight corona. These are Shastriya and Laukika Dehavasana. Dosapanayanam api duvidam laukikam sastriyam cha. Dosa apanayana, removing some kind of a trouble spot, some kind of a deficiency or a limitation in your dehavasana. So that, what is that? Chikitsa, chikitsaka ukteihi ausadhehi vyadhyadi apanayanam laukikam. So, some people say that, okay, you go to this herbal center, Patanjali has a lot of centers now, you do panchakarmas, you take this herbal medicine and detoxify your body, these kinds of things. This is associated with Dehavasana. This is for purification, detoxification of your body, okay? And take a lot of oxidants and antioxidants and stuff like that. This is dosa apanayanam, removal of certain deficiencies in your physical well-being, which will improve your sense of happiness. Vaidika snana achamanadibhi sauchadi apanayanam, osauchadi apanayanam vaidikam. So you are kind of not feeling clean because you think you have made a lot of mistakes in your life. So you go and you take a bath early morning, you do achamanam, you do some dhavandanam, some ritual work. That is kind of the Vaidika, dosa apanayana, removal of certain weaknesses, stains, certain diseases, certain limitations, which are affecting your well-being. So that is Vaidika dosa apanayana. Etasyascha sarva prakaraya malinatvam apramanikatvam अप्रमाणिकत्वाद अशक्यत्वाद पुरुषार्थ अनुपयोगित्वाद च Punarmahetutvacha Sastri Prasiddham. He's saying that these Dehavasana, Sastravasana, and Lokavasana. That is what we discussed. It's a long thing. I'll try to make a table and put it in the group. So whether you have Dehavasana, or Lokavasana, or Sastravasana, these things are known for a few things. What are they? These things are known for whatever you do, that they are malinatva, they are being impure, is proved by, first thing, the Shastra Pramana says that these are not permanent. Your body or sense of well-being or your book is intellectual knowledge or your power that you think I am a king. You may have a lot of problems that somebody addresses you as king and you're very happy. He says, sorry, this is not Pramanika. It's not having enough evidence that can give you liberation in the right sense of the term. Number two, that this is also asakyatvat. You cannot actually achieve all that, the lokavasanas. And then purushartha anupayogitvat. The purushartha dharma artha kama moksha, these are superfluous. They don't directly contribute to that. And punarjanma hetutvat. And if you deliver all these things very well, you are not going to escape birth and death. You're going to come back here and maybe make more oil baths and take more herbal medicines and coffee and stuff like that, but you are not getting liberation. And therefore, these are Shastra Prasiddham. These are well explained in the Shastras. Tad etad loka Shastra deha vasana trayam avivekinam upadeyatvena pratibhasanam api vividisoho vedana utpati virodhitvat vidusoho jnana nishta virodhitvat cha viveki vihi heyam. So even though the avivekis, who are not wise ones, who are half educated, they think they are very wise, but they're actually hurting themselves. These three vasanas absolutely do not ultimately benefit if you are a jnananishta aspirant for self-knowledge, and therefore you have to get rid of them. The foolish ones or half-baked knowledge. They are people with half-baked ideas about what is jnana and what is tattva and what is vasanakya. Kind of, as they call it, penny-wise pound foolish, those sort of people. So for them, they think these are very upadhyaya, it's very useful. It's actually a wastage of time beyond a point, and therefore those who are serious in knowledge of jnana yoga should not pay much attention to it. Okay, vivekhi heyam. So they should look at it, look at these things, deha vasana, loka vasana, and sastra vasana, not as completely useless, but as a marker of danger if they get obsessed with it. Tad evam bahya visaya vasana trividha nirupita. So these are external desires. And what are they? These external desires, threefold: loka vasana, deha vasana, sastra vasana. आभ्यंतर वासना तो काम क्रोध दंभ दर्पादि आसुर संपत् रूपा सर्व अनर्थ मूलम मानसी वासना इति उच्यते. What is then this bahya vasana? Externally oriented. You have to do some struggle, some kind of effort to reach and get some fulfillment related to it. However, there's another set of vasanas which are at the level of desire. They are hidden in you. You are not doing much about them, but the virus is present in you. What are they? They are abhyantara vasana. They are internally present, these desires. What are they? Kama, krodha, dambha, darpa, okay, like egoism, or you have a vainglory, egotistic, boasting of yourself, and desire and aversion and attachment. Okay, these are all asura sampat. These are the wealth which you find easily with asurika people, the asuras. Sarva anartha moolam manasi vasana iti uchyate. So the root of all sorts of problems is this mental desires, which are seed form, and they will destroy all your time if you pay attention to them. Tadevam bahya abhyantara vasana chatushtayasya. How they are chatushtaya vasana chatushtaya? First the laukika and sastriya. So sastriya vasana you put once. Then you have these bahya vasanas. What are the bahya vasanas? Sastriya vasana you forget. So that is important. The bahya, or sastriya, the loka vasana, deha vasana, sastra vasana, and then abhyantara vasana. These are bahya and abhyantara vasana, the four types of vasanas. Suddha vasanaya khayaha sampadiniyaha. So what is the suddha vasana? That is daiva sampat. That I shall pay some attention to Vedantic texts and I'll do some meditation, I'll do some upasana. That is suddha vasana, pure aspiration. And you cannot get rid of this stained, impure desire if you do not replace them with something more powerful, more beautiful, which is suddha vasana, or pure aspiration for self-realization. Tad uktam vasishthena, and Vasishtha has mentioned this here. Manasir vasana purvam tyaktva visaya vasanaha maitradi vasana rama gruhana malavasanaha. So first you have to replace the manasi vasanas, the mental desires, mental cravings. Purvam tyaktva, first get rid of them. Vishaya vasanaha, then you will replace the Vishaya vasanas. First get rid of the mental craving, then stay away from the object of these cravings, whatever you want to have. Maitradi vasana rama, and what is Suddha vasana, Sastri vasanas, Maitri, Karuna, right? And Mudita, Upeksha, Udas. In all these, the advice as to how to deal with others, these are Sastri vasana, you have to Gruhana, you accept it, practice it. These are Amala vasana. So these vasanas are not mala, they are mala rahita, without any impurities. Tatra Visaya vasana sabdena purvakta tisraha loka sastra deha vasana vivaksitaha. So when you say Visaya vasana, one is manasi vasana and Vishaya vasana is objective things that you want to achieve. These things like loka, deha, and sastra vasana. There is some external object you want to fulfill, so they are all called Vishaya Vasana, desire for external objects of pleasure or happiness or fame and name. Manasa Vasana Sabdena, Kama Kruta, Dambha Darapadi, Asura Sampat Vivakshita. But when you are saying Abhyantara Vasana or Manasi Vasana, if you leave out those three, what you have Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Madam, Asharya, all these desires which are there in seed form, these are Asuri Sampat. That means the kind of devilish energies which are hiding in you. And you be careful about them. Yadva, Savda Sparsha Rupa Rasagandha Vishayaha. So if you have external reality, now what is it made of? The Panchatanmatras. What are they? Sabda, sound, Sparsha, touch, Rupa, appearance, Rasa, the taste, Gandha, smell. These are the five Tanamatras. And Gandha relates Prithvi, the physical reality. Rasa is the hydrological reality, or whatever is liquid. And Rupa is Tejas, whatever is in fire and stuff like that. And then Sparsha is Vayu, and Sabda is your Shravana Indriya, which is in the sky. Tesam Bhujyamanatva Dasajanya Sanskara Vishaya Vasana. So this Vishaya Vasana, when you try to fulfill it or you engage with it, what do? It's Bhujyamana, because you want to have bhoga of that. These are bhogatmaka. You cannot say that I have Shastra Vasana, but you will not read anything. There is no proof you have Shastra Vasana. You have Shastra Vasana, you want to read a lot, you want to do a lot of rituals, or you want to do a lot of Veda Ucharanam, then we can accept that you have Vishaya Vasana. So you have to accept that they are all Bahya Vishaya Vasanas. Okay? And then he says, they sang Bhujyamana Vishaya Vasana. Kamyamanatva Dasajanya Sanskara Manasa Vasana. What are the mental desires and aspirations or cravings? These have to do with Kamyamanatva Dasajanya, the state at which you are actually contemplating to enjoy them, but you haven't started. These are all mental processes. These are Manasa Vasana. So a person may not be a rich man, but he may be thinking about a lot of riches. So he has Manasa Vasana. Because that is not Bhujyamana. He's actually a poor person. But he has a lot of Manasa Vasana that he's going to be rich. And therefore, that is Abhujyamana. This Kamyamanatva Dasa is a state of craving for it, desiring it, fantasizing about it. Okay? Asmine Pakshe Purvoktanam Chatasranam Anayor Eva Antarbhavaha Bahyabhantara Vatirekena Vasanantara Abhavat. So by Bahya and Antar, you cannot actually have a nomenclature of all the desires. He is doing some technical discussion, nothing significant. So he's saying that Vishaya Vasana and Manasa Vasana could be a good way to discuss this. Bahya Abhyantara could be a little complicated. Tasam Vasananam Parityago Nama Tad Viruddha Maitradi Vasana Utpadanam. So what is this Vasana Tyaga? Vasana Tyaga doesn't mean you shall not have any desires, because that is impossible for the human mind to sort of continue without any activity. So you're just at the beginning of this whole journey. You're not even a complete asampragyata samadhi sampanna vyakti, and therefore he says that to begin with, if you want to say Vasana Tyaga, it essentially means Suddha Vasana Sampadana. By replacing the impure desires with pure desires, you can deal with desires, you can discard desires. Tasa Maitradi Vasana Bhagavata Patanjalina Sutritaha Prakshankhebana Vakhyata Ati Punar Vakhyayante. He's saying that I have explained to you all that earlier by Patanjali, even in Yoga Sutras, but I'm going to speak a little about them here in order to sort of remind you about what we have discussed and then put them in a perspective. Because here we are talking about how a yogi manages to interact with everyone and still stay in yoga all the time. It's not easy. So he is giving this. Chittami ragadvesa punya papehi kalushi kriyate. So this chitta, ragadvesa punya papa, attachment and aversion, and pure good acts, and hurtful, painful acts for others, which causes pain for others, this punya and papa, raga and vesa. And these two, chittam kalushi kriyate, they add impurity to the consciousness. They stain the consciousness, they dirt the consciousness. They add undesirable color and text and quality to the consciousness. Okay, Tatra Sukhanusai Ragaha. This is again a definition of the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, which we have already done. Sukhanusai Ragaha Mohad Anubhuyamanam Sukham Anusete Kasid Dhibriti Visheswa Rajasaha Sarvam Sukha Jatiyam Cha Bhuyad Me Bhuyad. A person sort of looks at a certain announcement about a young man who has won a jackpot or something and has become a millionaire overnight, or somebody who signs a big contract as a player, a multi-million-dollar contract, and he's a young cricketer. Then watching the TV, the guy who has a lot of vasana, he says, why shouldn't all these benefits come my way? That is what he's saying. This is Sukhanusai Raga. What is Raga? He's explaining what is Raga, Dvesa, and all. So this is Me Bhuyat, let these happinesses come to me and kiss my feet. Tacha Drishtadushta Samagri Abhavat Sampadayitum Asakyam. However, you do not have the ways and means for getting it. You don't know what is cricket. You're not a good player. You haven't worked hard. So how are you going to sign this contract? Because of this, it is impossible for you. Atah sa ragaha chittam kalushi karoti. Now this desire has come that I should be a billionaire, but you don't have the wherewithal to sign a contract for a couple of billions or millions. So what happens? Your mind gets basically impure thinking about the riches or good contracts that a certain cricketer has signed. And you are psychologically tortured. You're feeling jealous. You have stronger craving. You're just sitting at your table. You should be studying or doing whatever you wanted. But you're thinking about a stupid thing, which has nothing to do with your life. That is what he's explaining. Okay? Kalusi karoti. Yada tu sukhi supranishu ayam maitrim bhavayat sarvesu sarvepi ete sukhino madhya iti tat tada tat sukham sokyam eva sampannam iti bhavayatah tatra rago nivartate. Then compare this with a Vedanti and a yogi. And this guy says, oh, good contract. So a couple of millions, that's wonderful. This boy had struggled a lot. And because he's Maitri Bhavaparna, he always smiles at the happiness of others. He's a spiritualist. So he's very happy. Look at this boy. And he forwards the result of this guy. He has no agony in him. He's happy. He's identifying with him. There's a clear linkage with Sloka 32, where he's a Samadarshi. This is the practical application of Vedanta here. He's happy. Somebody is happy. Watching him, he's happy because he's Sarvatmakatva. He identifies himself with everything. Okay, because he's a Brahmavid. Then he thinks as if that happiness is mine. Nibritesha raga Barsa Vyapa'e Jalam Eva Chittam Prasidati. And then this raga is not going to happen to him. He has no craving in his mind because he's already happy. That boy who got the money has a lot of problem trying to invest, but this poor guy is a monk. He read it in the newspaper, he smiled and walked forward. No problem. So he doesn't have the chinta and the difficulties that the real winner has, but he has taken the benefit of the happiness that this fellow is now trying to achieve, even after getting the award, because this boy is just happy. Oh, he is so happy, it's such a good thing. And this happiness is mine only because I'm a Vedantist. Everybody is part of me. Tatha dukhanusai dvesaha. When this moha or raga is nibrita, then your mind is peaceful. That is the first benefit of Maitri. Tatha dukhanusai dvesaha. So something, as a result of pain or frustration and hurt or whatever, that is dvesa. You don't want that kind of painful feeling to be imposed on you. Dukham anusete kasid dhivritti vishesha tamo anugata rajaha parinamaha. So that rajas, because rajas is dukhatmaka, which is tama anugata, following a kind of lazy mind, a tamasic energy is following it. It's subservient to tamas. And that dukkha happens to you. Okay? And idrisi sarvam dukham sarvada me ma bhutiti, then what does this fellow say? Somebody, is planning to get married, boy or girl. And then he opens the TV channel and he finds that one wife or one husband has hurt his spouse or had cheated. And the other fellow is kind of depressed and he sort of committed suicide or did some mischief, some kind of, he hurt himself or herself. And early morning, this boy who is very super sensitive, he has a lot of dvesa. He opens the newspaper or TV channel. He's supposed to go as a groom or a bride to get married. And suddenly he reads this newspaper and becomes very depressed. Oh my God, this sort of thing shouldn't happen to me. He becomes very confused and uncertain, right? So this particular thing will happen. However, he's saying, Tatcha Satru Vyagradisu Satsu na Nivaritum Satyam. However, there are certain pains and frustrations and agonies we cannot overcome. Like there is corona right now, there could be a cyclone, maybe there is an animal who's going to attack us. I saw a very funny video yesterday by accident. On YouTube, there is a polar bear which is kind of eating a seal alive. And there was a person who was given a comment, and I liked it and I remembered it. It's a very good piece from a Vedantic standpoint. The commentator has written, whenever I have a very bad day, this kind of a video reassures that my life isn't so bad. Because when you are alive, another animal is kind of eating you up. And he is not doing anything. The seal is bleeding, and this beer is not killing it. It's a very painful thing. You can't watch it, but then the comment you can read and switch it off. So this particular thing, if you watch, if you have raga dvesa and you have a kalushita chitta, you will get very upset and painful, have a painful emotion, you'll feel depressed. But so this kind of pain shouldn't happen to me. But you may not be able to overcome it. You never know if you're walking in the jungle. Actually, one tiger might attack, right? So what happens? Nacha sarve te dukkha hetavaha hantum sakyate. So you cannot remove the causes of all sorts of pains and frustrations. That is not possible. Sakyate ataha sadvesaha sada hridayam dahati. Then it burns your heart and emotion. It hurts you. It causes a lot of painful emotions in you. Tadatu swasya eva pareshang sarvesam api dukham ma bhutiti karanam dukhishu bhavayet tada vairyadi dvesa nibrito chitam prasidati. Just look at what we do every day. This corona and a lot of people are dying, right? So there are one category of people who can be very afraid. Corona is coming, 3 people died and there are a lot of WhatsApp forwards. But we end our day with a beautiful prayer saying that, oh Lord, save whosoever is affected by this pandemic. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kasyid dukkha bhagave. This is the Vedantic prayer. And how that works here is saying that you have karuna, that is karuna, compassion, empathy for all. So instead of saying, oh my God, this particular calamity shouldn't befall me, if you pray like this, Yadatu swasya eva pareshang sarvesam api dukkham mavut. Oh Lord, I'm praying you. Please remove the pain and frustration of this world. Tonight, a lot of children are going to sleep hungry. A lot of mothers are going to sleep without having enough food to, feed their children. There are people caught up in war zones and zones of conflict. And then in pandemic, maybe, when we're discussing Vedanta here, there is a family where somebody has left, right? And it's not so peaceful thing to deal with. It is truth. Death is a fact of life. But when it sort of comes right in your face and takes anyone you know, it has a different meaning for you. And I just want to sort of remind you, coming to my mind, there's a beautiful story by this famous Russian, storyteller. It's called, it's Ward Number 6. Okay, Ward Number 6, and you should read it. It's available also on YouTube. How a psychiatrist is telling a particular guy who is caught up there, an unemployed guy who is arrested as having a mental problem. He's saying, just accept it. You are here having food and this and that. That guy tells, pain hurts. Don't philosophize. When you have pain, you will know what it is. And one fine morning, the doctor, there's a plot and they sort of conspire against him and put him as a mad guy in a mental asylum. Then he knows what is pain. and he falls dead the next day out of depression. So this pain can, can hurt any of us. But how to deal with it? We cannot overcome it, but we'll pray for it, and we pray for everyone, and we have that sarvatmakata. We have that prayer. We connect with the divine. We are accepting whatever is going to happen is going to happen. But I'll not forget to pray you. I shall not be overcome by dvesa or vairi, enmity or jealousy. And those kinds of things I'll not permit. Tadasa smaryate. So he's saying, prana yathatmano bhista bhutanam apite tatha atmopamyena bhuteshu dayam kurvati sadhavaha. The sadhus, they do daya, compassion, bhuteshu, sarva bhuteshu, sarva bhuta hite rataha. They have compassion and empathy for animal and trees and birds, for everyone. How? Atmopamyena, as if it's all them. They will have love and care for animals as much as they care for themselves. Prana yathat mano bhista bhutanam apite tatha. And they have no disparity in looking at all these things. If something has life or something doesn't have, if someone is a human being, a rich guy, poor guy, they have a sense of balanced vision. So with this, we have sort of come to the point where we have completed an hour, and we'll take it forward. This is interesting stuff, and we will be able to finish the commentary on the verse number 32, hopefully tomorrow. Yeah, a little more left, and we'll finish it tomorrow, and we'll do the Santiman class. And if you have any questions, you can ask. But I think I'm going to put off the YouTube channel live here, and see you tomorrow again.